hour. Thank you again, everyone, for joining the 2023-2024 Network Waitlist Project Kickoff. Please make sure that you have your lines muted, whether you are a call-in user or joining us with video. So as an overview, Network 5 is contracted with CMS, who are the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, to oversee the pursuit of certain quality measures within dialysis facilities. These goals and expectations are for all facilities in Network 5 area, and these are specific to the 2023-2024 project period. Within this project, Network 5 is going to be focusing on transplant. Having said that, it's important to remember that just because we're focusing on transplant in this group for the next couple of months, your facility is still obligated to meet the other CMS goals, and you may be contacted by other quality staff throughout this time. They may want to discuss vaccinations, hospitalizations, behavioral health. If you have questions about other goals, please reach out to one of the quality improvement staff and we would be happy to assist. You can see what the goals are by logging into your Network 5 facility dashboard, which we will cover more later in the presentation. Facilities are tasked with pursuing two different measures relating to transplant. The first is increasing the number of patients who are added to the wait list, and the second is increasing patients who actually receive a kidney transplant. We are aware that the facility level staff have pretty limited ability to control a patient actually being placed on the wait list or receiving a kidney. However, there are things that can be done at the facility level to make progress towards these goals. Your job doesn't stop just at referring the patient. You can and should be following up with the patients regarding their initial appointments, as the transplant center called them to schedule, following them through the transplant workup process so they don't fall through the cracks. And facility staff should be able to provide at least basic education regarding living donation and high KDPI kidneys. These options increase patient chances of receiving a kidney transplant. Within this network project, we will be focusing on adding patients to the wait list. However, transplants received is always the primary goal. I mentioned in an earlier slide that goals are specific to the 2023-2024 project period. Please note that network project periods do not align with a calendar year, and this can really trip people up sometimes. The current measurement period began on May 1st of this year, and it will run through the end of April 30th, 2024. So this means that if your facility added patients to the transplant wait list anytime between January 1 of this year and April 30th of this year, this will not count towards this year's goal. It did count towards the previous year's goal. If your organization has internal goals for transplant and you have met those goals, it does not necessarily mean that you have met the goals CMS has set forth for network facilities. Often organizational goals are measured as a % of the number of patients in your facility, while CMS and the network goals are a count. Before we dive into the specific tasks for this project, let's review one of the ways facility staff can keep tabs on network specific goals and their progress by using the ESRD facility report dashboard. At the top of the screen is the link to the login page. Facilities receive an email each month from our Executive Director, Brandy Benson, stating that the dashboard has been updated with new data. This email will also include the username and password for the facility. This password does not change from month to month. and it can and should be shared with other interdisciplinary team members. The dashboard should be updated with information from June sometime this week. And so you can keep an eye out for an email about that. Once you log in, you'll be directed to this landing page. These reports can also be downloaded and printed if that makes it easier to bring it to your QAPI meetings. Use the blue rectangular button down there in the bottom left of the screen to do this. Please also do your best to incorporate patients into these QAPI meetings. Allowing patients insight and input into the review of facility level information can be incredibly helpful. We will discuss this more in the next few slides. So to cover this landing page, the information on the left shows the basic facility information, the CCN, facility name, services provided, etc. Below that, you have all of the different measures that the facility is responsible for pursuing. In the middle is a bar graph. At the top of the bar graph is a tab, and you can see what the data is reflecting, or what month through what month this data is reflecting. The gray bar shows the network goal for this facility, and the blue bar shows this facility's progress towards this goal. So in this example, the facility has not only met, but exceeded this particular goal. Below that shows the data source for this particular measure. On the right, you can compare the facility to others within the state and the network. And then there's a simple, is this goal met, yes or no? We do understand that not all facilities are going to immediately transfer all goals from a no to a yes. This will be a process throughout the year. So as mentioned in the previous slide, incorporating patients and families into facility activities can be helpful. What we see is that the facilities that engage patients the most are the ones making the most progress. The intervention options for this waitlist project aim to do this. The patient is central and pivotal to pursuing transplant. Understanding patients' values, preferences, priorities helps to understand the individual's motivation for doing what they do or don't do, and gives us an idea of where to start. Having patients involved in the identification of self-directed goals for care planning creates ownership for the patient related to follow through and communication. Use of peer mentors is a proven best practice for patient education. It's beneficial not only for the patient on the receiving end, but also for the mentor who feels a responsibility to provide a good example. Inclusion of patients in QAPI to talk about transplant goals provides the patient a voice. Patients making decisions and following through on actions is what is required to meet these goals. It makes sense to have that population represented at the table. They can provide unique perspectives and insights that will help to inform your interventions. So what's going to be required in this project? My hope is that this slide will serve as your facility's checklist or to-do list for the project. Step one is attending the kickoff call. So if you were on this call, you have met that. Next, you're going to select what intervention your facility will complete by filling out the SurveyMonkey. A link to the SurveyMonkey will be sent out after this call. Then you're going to set up a one-on-one call with me to review the intervention that was chosen and refine plans for implementation. You will also receive an email with a Sign Up Genius link for this call. The calls are 30 minutes, and during that time, we will fill out a strategic action plan based on the intervention chosen. After that, you will implement the plan and finally complete a progress check report. This is the intervention options chart that was included in your project enrollment email. Please read through it carefully. I'm not going to read through all of it at this time, but you should have had the opportunity to do so when you received the project notification email. These interventions go beyond just posting a bulletin board or hosting a lobby day. Most of these incorporate some type of patient involvement or feedback. During the one-on-one calls, we will discuss how to move education efforts into action and or measure the impact. So for example, if your facility has chosen to host a lunch and learn for the staff, there needs to be some type of follow-up component to the intervention that will involve the staff putting that education into practice and then measuring the results. Here's an example from USRC Oxon Hill. They used a bulletin board to educate patients, and after some amount of time of having the bulletin board posted, they played a game, which was a Wheel of Fortune style game, where they asked questions about information that was found on the bulletin board. It was a fun and non-threatening way to gauge patients' knowledge about that topic and then identify areas of needed follow-up. So one of the biggest hurdles we've encountered with holding these one-on-one calls with facilities is that Sign Up Genius does not automatically sync the appointment to your work calendar. So we're quickly going to run through how to do that manually. This is the sign up page you'll be directed to when you click on the link in the email, and right towards the bottom in green, you'll see Zoom meeting and this link. You can always return to this page, click that link and go directly to the meeting. After you sign up, there is an add to calendar button. It's at the bottom left of my screen here, and you can click that to add the calendar to your meeting. This is what will come up. The location of the meeting is right under the subject line of this email. And then you'll click save and close. If you forget to use the add to calendar button, that's okay. You can still add the appointment to your calendar by checking the confirmation email. Once you sign up, you'll get a confirmation email. You can reference this email to find the Zoom link. You can also add the meeting and link to your Outlook calendar by double clicking the calendar icon in the message. So what are your next steps? You need to review the intervention options chart, discuss with your team which interventions are most appropriate for your facility and patients. Look for an email with a SurveyMonkey link to select which interventions your facility will implement. And then look for a Sign Up Genius link to select a time slot to review and refine your interventions. If after talking to your team, you decide that there is a different type of intervention you think will be most appropriate and effective in achieving your goals, that is okay. You just need to let me know and we can review that together. As a final note, cooperation with the network and network projects is a requirement of the CMS conditions for coverage. Here is my information. I am happy to answer any questions you have. And at this time, we rolled through all of that pretty quickly. So I'm going to take any questions that you all may have. And Caitlin, if you are on the call and can let me know if there's anything major in the chat that I need to.
There is a couple of things from Julie in the chat. First, she said, OMG, this is so helpful, which is good. And then she asked, will they be able to print the presentation? So will the slides be available?
Yes, I will make these slides available and we'll send them out either later today or in the next week. Anybody else? I don't know that I mentioned this in the presentation, but I do just want to clarify, these projects should not be falling on one person within the facility. This very much should be a team approach, at the very least being discussed with the core team in a huddle or a quick team meeting saying, hey, we've been enrolled in this project. Here are our options. We are focusing on adding one patient. I believe most if not all of the facilities in the project at this point are only tasked with adding one patient to the transplant wait list over the next project year. So what are the things that you are going to put in place that you feel like for your patients and your staff are going to be most effective in reaching that goal?
Julie asked in the chat if there are any suggestions if the project is going to fall on one person. So I am assuming, Julie, you can correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong, but maybe if staffing is limited.
Uh-huh.
So any suggestions with that?
I think that my suggestion would probably be situation specific. So if that is something that you feel like is going to be the case, you can reach out to me and we can set up a time to chat and see if there's a way that we could problem solve this together. I know that a lot of times staffing is an issue, or people within the facility automatically assume that transplant is covered entirely by social workers or maybe nurses. However, that works out at that particular time. So I would say yes, just to reach out to me individually, and we'll see if there's anything we can come up with.
And another question that just came through, how many tasks do they have to choose?
Just one. Just one. All right. Well, if nobody else has any questions at this time, I will bring us to a close. If you have any questions afterwards or after talking to your team, or you think of it later today, again, please reach out to my email, which is enuschke@qualityinsights.org. I will be away from the office next week, so please don't be put off if I do not immediately respond to your email, but I would be happy to do so when I return. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thank you for joining.